everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Spiked Coffee and Sarcasm. So we are now on episode 5. How does that make you feel? I'm Kris. How does that make you feel, Van?
It makes me feel good. I'm glad that we're like episode 5. This is like a big milestone, whatever you want to call it for us. So it's exciting. I'm excited. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes. Super exciting. I am very excited too because over the last week we've been trying to get the last 4 episodes up and running. And like you said in one, I think it was the last episode that we were recording, or it was the one before that, where you had said that you thought that we were just going to do a podcast and record and it was going to be easy, and hey, let's just record a podcast, get it out there for everybody to read and or listen to, excuse me. And we have learned the very, very hard way that is not exactly the way it goes. So
no, we've been doing this since December of 2017 is when we first started talking about this, before Christmas. And I thought, okay, well, we'll have it done. You know, like we'll wait until after the holidays. I think our first goal was to have our first episode out the first weekend in January. That was the goal that we had at first. And that didn't happen. Like, we just got the first episodes out last Thursday. So that was February 15th?
Actually, nope. Our very first episode went out on... I got it completely done and uploaded and ready to go, and it was actually on iTunes on Valentine's Day. So February 14th.
Arizona's birthday, Valentine's Day. Now it'll be our anniversary of our first episode. That's awesome. That's kind of cool, actually.
See? It is kind of cool. So we won't forget, for sure.
But it just goes to show that it takes more than just a few weeks to get a podcast up and going. And we did not know that it was going to take this much work, this much research, this much reading, watching videos, figuring out the best thing to record on, how to record, because we are in 2 different states. We're not sitting in the same room together, and which would have been a lot easier.
Agreed.
But we are using Skype and, recording separately and putting them together, and neither one of us knew how to do that. So it's been definitely a learning process, but I have to say it's been tons of fun. It's allowed us to talk more, which we never, on both sides, put in enough effort to talk to each other on a regular basis. And sometimes
100%.
Sometimes it's just hard with life that, we both have kids and we have jobs and our kids have activities, and it's just hard. So this makes it where we sit down at least once a week, whether it's recording an episode or just talking about, like, we had an admin Skype phone call last week because we had some stuff we had to iron out and make decisions. And, it wasn't a night to record, but it was a night we need to make some decisions and we need to do it now. And we just got to get it done. So for anybody who's wanting to do a podcast, I absolutely think that you should. If you have a great idea and you want to do something fun with a friend or by yourself, or you have knowledge of a subject or whatever, go and do it. But just be aware that it's a lot of work to get it started. So that's just my little tidbit.
But it's a lot of fun. In the same token, it is definitely a lot of fun. I mean, and especially if you're doing it with somebody, because you get the dynamics change a little bit when you have to ask, the other person what they think, or you're trying to put something together. And then on top of that, being in separate states, that definitely, with the time difference and exactly what you said, everything, us having kids in sports and doing this and always running, things going on, but it is a lot of fun and it's worth it, and I would definitely do this again.
For sure.
I think it's a great thing.
And right now, we're only an hour difference. You're only an hour ahead of me now. When springtime comes along, you're going to be 2 hours ahead, so that's going to cause another whole, because you're an old lady and you have to go to bed early, but, we'll get past those issues.
Well, that's the whole 40-something. I'm working on staying up later just for you, Van. Just for you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so on this episode, Van and I have decided that we're going to talk about something that her and I have nothing in common about. At one point we did, but now we don't. Okay, so back in, what was it, in 2000, I got married, and I've been married for this, I'm coming up on 18 years married and 21 years with my husband. Whereas Van is doing the dating scene. Her and her husband are no longer together, and they haven't been for a few months, or few years. And so she's doing the dating scene. So we thought it would be fun to kind of get each other's take on dating and marriage and divorce and kids, and see, see what each other's opinion is on it. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I can say that dating sucks. And I have put a hiatus on dating right now because okay, so let me start here. I was 19 when I met my ex-husband. And I was with him from the time I was 19 until we got divorced when I was 35. So honestly, I never dated. I dated him. That was it. Like, I didn't go on a lot of dates. It was my entire adult life until I was 35 was with one person. So going into the dating world when you're 35 and you have two young kids and you're trying to get a job for the first time in 7 years because you've been a stay-at-home mom, it's horrible. I mean, it's horrendous. Horrendous is a word that it's horrible. Going through a divorce is horrible. Having to communicate with somebody that you no longer connect with is hard. I am going to do a slight disclaimer before we get into this conversation is I have a fairly decent relationship with my ex-husband because of our children. I don't want to say anything that's going to belittle his character because he is a good guy and he is a good father. We made mistakes in our marriage and it came to an end and it is what it is. There are things he does as a parent and maybe as an ex-husband that drive me a little crazy, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm not here to bash him and say that he's a jerk and he's all this or whatever. It's just, he's going to be, he's an okay guy. So I'm just going to put that out there. I know that there'll probably be people who know him. I'm still friends with some of his family members. So, I'm not here to bash my ex-husband. I'm just, I just want to put that out there. He's not a bad guy.
Absolutely.
So anyway.
Absolutely. And one thing that I've noticed with the whole situation with you and your ex is that something that most people don't do is, and it's not, I have seen this more often now than before. Before I got married, I had dated a guy for 2.5 years. We had plans to maybe get married. We had a daughter together. And when him and I decided to go our separate ways, it wasn't an easy transition. He really, we struggled in terms of him not being ready and me being ready. I just wasn't, him and I didn't feel the same way. And so we parted ways. And trying to co-parent.
That's a tad bit of an understatement, but okay.
Okay, well, so let the same disclaimer apply here. I just don't want to, I'm just not looking into putting anybody down. That being said, I'm not his biggest fan. He's probably not mine. Anyway.
I'm not his biggest fan. I'll just put that out there. I am not his biggest fan. So, okay, done. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
I totally understand that. So my situation was when I was dating, when I had transitioned out of that relationship and started dating my current husband, him and I, we got along terribly. Like, my relationship with my daughter's dad was terrible. We had to use a mediator because neither one of us could get along, and it took a life or death situation for us to say, okay, you know what, this is stupid. If something bad happens, how are we going to communicate? And that's how it happens. some things for me, as far as I'm concerned, some things happen for a reason, and not that I would wish anything like that on anybody, but Alyssa's accident was a big deal. She was in that accident, and yeah, it was a big deal. That was the turning point for my relationship with her dad. We were able to get along after that. Not well, but at least we didn't
better.
have a mediator anymore. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then, that's my experience with I was single for, 6 months or whatever, and then I met Mark, and we got married 3 years after we met, and we had to deal with that situation the entire time until Alyssa turned 18. So it is hard. It is hard. So I have to give you and your ex-husband props, because you guys do co-parent well, and it's not that same where you hate each other most of the time and you're fighting all the time. You may disagree on things, but you are very, very lucky as far as that goes.
I agree 150%. I've heard stories of exes that have kids that, totally just don't get along, and they use their kids against each other, which I am totally think that that's wrong. But it's, there's, when you get divorced or when you separate and there's children involved, there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of animosity, and it's hard to really decipher between, your anger and what's best for your children. And when I was getting divorced, I was angry. I was very angry for a long time. And I'm not going to lie. I said some things in front of my children when they were young. They were 5 and 2.5 when we got divorced. So I probably said some things I probably shouldn't have. And I'll admit to that. It's normal. It's human. And, I wish some things I could take back. But my point is I always look at my relationship with my ex as, how is this going to benefit my children? My children come first, period. And every decision that I make in my life, anything that is said to them, how is this going to affect them? So when I was going through my divorce, any decision that I made I had that in my brain of, how is this going to affect my children? I made a deal with my ex that I don't care about anything else, but I do not want you talking ill in front of my kids or our kids about me. I don't want your family to be talking bad about me in front of our kids, and I will not do the same. And for the most part, we have kept that pact. That's not to say in times of high intensity that I have not said a few not so nice things about their father in front of them, but it's that anger, it takes over sometimes. But
yeah, you live and learn, though.
Yeah.
And don't beat yourself up for it.
Yeah, you definitely do. So I made the conscious decision I have to get along with this man. I have to be able to communicate with him about the children. And like you said, there have been some instances with our children that have been emergencies. Nathan broke his wrist. Nathan started having seizures. Ian's been, had staples in his head. And, the first person, when one of our kids is hurt, the first person I call is him, because it's his father. They're his kids. So he needs to know. And not one time has he never not been there. Like,
of course.
Nathan broke his wrist at Skateland. I called him on the way to the hospital and said, I'm on the way to the hospital. Nathan broke his wrist. He's like, okay, I'll be right there. What hospital are you going to? Same thing with the seizures. He was there. He was there every day when we were in the hospital. He goes to doctor's appointments. There's some things that I wish he would do a little bit different, because he doesn't do it like I do it, but we're not the same person. So it's kind of pick and choose your battles. What are you going to fight about? What are you just going to let go? Because my mom gave me some advice a long time ago of, when you're in a situation, you have to ask yourself, is this something that I can control? Like, can I control the outcome of this situation? Or if my reaction, is it going to change? If I get angry, is it going to change it? Like, is it going to be a different outcome if I'm angry about it? If the answer is no, then you have to move on. You have to move on. And I've lived by that advice, especially when it comes to my children, of I can't control what he does when my children are there. I can ask him not to do things, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do it. I have to trust, knowing that the person that he is, that he's going to take care of my children. And for the most part, he does take good care of our children. So,
right?
You know, I am very lucky. I count my blessings every day that I do have a good relationship with him, that we can talk about the kids, that we can agree on things. If I need help financially with the kids, even though he pays me child support, he never says no. He always helps when I need help. So I am, you are right. I am very lucky. It could be way worse. And, you know, there's lots of people out there that don't have that. So
I agree with you. You're 100% lucky. I've seen so many parents that have gone through the situation where they're arguing with their ex and they just can't come to an equal median. You know, they fight, they argue, they can't agree on anything, and they struggle with every decision that needs to be made. So that is a tough thing. Okay, so now that we know that you're divorced and everything, and you're one of the lucky ones who has, you co-parent well. So then how's the dating scene been? I would love to hear some of your stories.
Yeah. I've dated, well, I don't even know if you'd call it dated, a few people in between. I haven't had anything in any serious relationships or anything like that. It's usually just been nothing but sexual, I guess you could say.
Right.
You know, we're here to just help each other out in that department. Nothing serious, nothing, you know, or at least not serious on their part. On my part, maybe I thought it was, but it wasn't. But that's probably another whole episode. Anyway, there are some, okay, so I have paid for 3 months on Match.com one time.
Well, isn't that supposed to be like the perfect way to find your next husband?
Oh, it's supposed to be. Oh, no. No. There are still complete wackos out there. Let me tell you, I have met more crazy people than I have normal people. So Match.com, I don't know what it is about men, but it's very rare that you can find a man who can hold a conversation over text or messages or whatever. It's like, I need to know more than just, hi, sexy, or hi, beautiful, or how are you doing? Like, it's got to go beyond that. Right. If you want me to stick around, you've got to have some substance to something. Like, I can't find that anywhere. So I'll tell one story. So I do have a profile on a dating site. It's free. I don't ever go on there looking for anybody. It's just there. And every so often I'll get a message here and there. And I always try and give people a chance, but I have keywords or triggers. Once you say this, I'm out. Like, I'm not even going to waste my time. So I started talking to a guy. This was probably a year or two ago. And we talked and we had good conversations over text. He seemed like a nice guy. We talked a couple times. So we decided we're going to meet up. And we meet at a place down here. It's called Tempe Marketplace. And he was really into like salsa dancing, which I thought was fantastic. It was, you don't really meet many guys who like that kind of stuff. So he was going to be down there, and so I met him down there.
Just your face right now tells it all.
Yeah. So we meet up. We meet at Dave & Buster's, and I go in there, and he meets up with me. He walks up to me, and he has been dancing, so he's sweaty, which, okay, not a big deal. He didn't stink, but he was sweaty. Well, what does he tell me? You're not going to believe this. What does he say to me? He says, "I'm really sorry, but I left my wallet at the office."
Seriously?
Oh, you did? Yeah. I'm like, you couldn't think of anything more original? That's like the oldest trick in the book, you jackass. So I said, "Oh, you did? Okay, well then I guess we're drinking water. Because I'm not paying for this, whatever this is. If it's a date and we're having dinner, I'm not paying for it." So he says, "Okay." And so we walk over to get seated so we could start talking. And we're standing there waiting for them to clean off a table. And he says, "I'm going to go use the restroom." And I said, "Okay." The man leans down and tries to kiss me.
What? Whoa.
I was like,
wait,
whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Seriously, who is this guy?
Serious. Right? I have been here for 3 minutes. And so, like, I did the whole, like, pull my face away, and I was all, huh? I'm like, no. He's like, "Oh, I can't kiss you?" I'm like, no. Like, no, you can't. I'm sorry. I don't know you. So he goes to the bathroom. I sit down. He comes back. We start having a decent conversation. Well, I start talking to him about going to a New Kids concert. You know, that I'm a New Kids fan. We start talking about that. This man looks at me and says, his words, I quote, "Oh, boyfriend doesn't like that." I said, "Boyfriend? Whose boyfriend?" He's like, "Your boyfriend." "I'm sorry, I don't have a boyfriend." He's like, "Yeah, you do, me." No. You're not my boyfriend.
He actually
so I was like,
said that to you for real?
I'm dead serious. Dead freaking serious. He says this to me. Boyfriend. Not even your boyfriend, just boyfriend. And so I kind of laughed it off. I was like, okay. So then
strike one.
we start talking. Oh my God. He's like on strike 3 already, but the nice person that I am, I continue. So we sit there and we talk for a little bit more. We get our waters, and so we decide we're going to leave and we're going to go walk around. It's kind of a cool atmosphere out there. They've got like fire pits and stuff. So he gets up and he's like, I'm going to go use the restroom again. I was like, okay. I'm like, damn, you got a bladder of a peanut or what? I haven't peed once since I've been here. But anyway, so the man leans in to kiss me again.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, dude, you've got to be kidding me. So again, I pull away. I'm like, no, we're not at that point yet. Like, no. So he goes, so we go out and we start walking. And the sad thing is that we had good conversations when he wouldn't say that he was my boyfriend, but we would talk about things and it was nice. It was a nice flowing conversation. So we sit down on a bench or whatever, and we're talking, and so he asks this time if he could kiss me. So, okay, well, at least you asked this time. You didn't just lean in like you fucking own me.
Right.
So, so I kiss him, and it was pleasant. Not going to say it wasn't pleasant. We do it a couple more times, whatever. So then it's time to end whatever you want to call that this is. He walks me back to his car. We kiss a few more times. And then he says, "Why don't we get in the back seat and I'll whip it out for you?"
Oh, what a Romeo.
What? Yeah, I'm like, wait, what did you just say? He's like, come on. I'm all, I think I'll get in the car and you can go on your way. Like, no, that's not happening.
Wow.
So I get in my car. He's like, okay, I'll call you later.
No.
God, I hope not, is what I'm thinking. Please don't call me. I'm not going to be upset if you don't. So I drive away, and the whole time I'm driving away, I'm like, why? What? Why? Like, I don't even know how to even comprehend and just get this in my head and wrap my brain around it. Like, what just happened? Like, what gives this man the right to think, first, he can try and kiss me after I've only been there for 3 minutes. 2, you call yourself my boyfriend and tell me that you don't like the fact that I'm going to go to a concert. Yeah, screw you, buddy. And 3, you want to get in the back seat of my car so you can whip it out for me?
And
Dude,
you forgot,
come on.
You forgot the part where he conveniently left his wallet at the office, and he shows up sweaty. That's you just what?
Yeah.
Just okay.
It was a nightmare from beginning to end. Needless to say, I never spoke to him
I'm
again.
sure.
So.
Well, I hope not, Van, because I mean,
no.
You have standards, and even if you're a nice person, you still have standards.
He never called me again. I never called him. That was done. So, one other short little one that I mean, I could go on for 2 hours telling you about the stuff that I've heard and been through. So another one that was interesting was I did start talking to a guy, and we started texting, and it was great conversations. Like, we had a lot in common. Wasn't the best looking guy, but whatever it is, I'm kind of past that superficial stuff. Looks aren't that important. So we talk for probably 2 weeks, text, phone, everything. So we go out on a date, and the date is okay, except for we're at dinner, and I find out he's never had a glass of wine ever in his entire life, which, okay, that some people don't like wine, some people don't try it. That's fine. But the whole time that we're talking, the conversation with him is always, he's told somebody a story. Like, for example, when I would say, I'd ask him a question, he'd say, well, I was talking to my best friend or this guy friend that I had, and I told him blah, 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 blah. Every answer he gave me was like that. And I'm like,
oh no.
Can you not, like, do you always have to have a conversation with somebody about things? Like, you can't just have an individual thought? Like, you're always talking to somebody about things? So that was a little weird. So we get through with dinner, and mind you, I have friends who I've told that I'm going on the date, and they're texting me throughout the night, like, how are things going? Do you need to get out?
You ready to use the safe word yet?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm texting them. I'm like, no, everything's fine for right now. So we get in his car, and we're going to go bowling. Okay? We get in his car, and he grabs my hand, and he's holding my hand. Not a big deal, kind of sweet, whatever. Yep. We get to the bowling alley, and it was really busy, so we sat in the bar. And we're sitting at the bar and, having a drink, talking. Well, he leans in for a kiss, and I kiss him because it's been not a bad night so far, so I, give him a kiss. He leans away from the kiss and then wipes his nose because it's running.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, that's a little gross, but okay. So I don't say anything. I just, whatever. So I stupidly let him kiss me again. And the same thing happens. I'm like, now, if you have allergies or something and your nose is running, probably the last thing you should be doing is kissing somebody. Like, I would have been okay if he hadn't tried to kiss me. And then not only was his nose running, but I felt like I was kissing a 12-year-old.
Oh.
Like, it wasn't like an adult male kiss. It was like, when you have that first kiss with your first boyfriend and it's awkward and it's,
slobbery
like
and gross.
The tongues are, slobbery and the tongues are like flipping in weird places. And I felt like I was in junior high, and I'm just like, this is not pleasant at all. And then he kind of looked like my 6th grade teacher.
Oh, Van.
So that was kind of a turnoff. And then I find out he is the ex-husband of a girl that we went to high school with.
Oh.
So that was just like, okay. This is just
what?
Like Twilight Zone type of stuff.
Right?
So, yeah. So
I do not.
We ended. Yeah. I'll tell you who that person is
later
off air, but yeah. So, we leave and, whatever. So this is like around Christmas. So New Year's is coming up. And so after this date was over, he we talked for a few more times, and he really wanted me to go out with him for New Year's. Oh, no. I was not going to go through this whole kissing thing again on New Year's. I'm not kissing somebody who looks like my 6th grade teacher and you kiss like you're 12. I'm just not going to do it. So I politely told him that, I think you're a nice guy. I've enjoyed our conversations, but for me, there just wasn't anything there. So I just think it's better if we go our separate ways. And then after that, I never heard from him again. So I think he was pretty pissed off, but it is what it is. Maybe I should have given him another chance. Maybe it could have been something, but I was so turned off by the wiping of the nose and the way that he kissed. I don't know. Dating sucks.
You know what?
I just can't do it.
I don't envy single people. I just don't envy single people because I don't want to ever have to go through that dating again. And I'm coming up on, like I said, 18 years of marriage. And, I love being married. I do. And just like everybody else, we have our problems once in a while where you think, you look at I wonder what it would be if this ever happened, and I had to start dating again.
Yeah.
But I hear your stories like that, and I think I don't want this to ever happen because I don't want to ever date.
Yeah, you should thank your lucky stars. No, thank your lucky stars that you are still married and that you have a good husband and that you guys have a decent, a decent marriage. Not to say it's not great, because no marriage is perfect or great.
Sure.
But, you are lucky that you were able to find somebody that is true and takes care of you and takes care of his family. And, because ending a marriage is no fun. Dating is no fun. I am at a point in my life right now where I have absolutely no desire to bring somebody into my life right now. Although my 10-year-old thinks a little bit different. He's been trying to set me up a lot lately.
Oh, no.
Waiters, firemen. He sees a cute guy and he's like, hey.
Let's not brush over the fireman.
No, but that I know, but that fireman was married. So, he tried to set me up with a waiter at Red Lobster once. And then I heard the waiter talking about his wife to another waiter. And then I told Ian, honey, he's married, so I'm not going to ask him out, because Ian's going, you should ask him out. This is my 10-year-old. I'm all, when did you become matchmaker? Like, who are you? And so when I told him that he was married, he goes, oh, well, then you shouldn't tip him.
You shouldn't.
No,
you shouldn't tip him?
I shouldn't tip him.
Oh, poor
Ian.
Like,
Ian, I can't do that. It's not his fault. He's married. Like, I don't know. It's insane. It's I don't know. I'm happy with my life and taking care of my kids and working, and I just don't. Relationships are a lot of work. I don't care what anybody says.
I'll agree with you.
They are a lot of work. They take a lot of time to nurture and to get it to where you're comfortable, and I honestly just don't have that kind of time. And I swear, if one more person tells me you just need a man in your life, I am gonna go postal. Because no, I don't need a man in my life.
Nope.
Would it be nice to have a companion? Absolutely. Would it be nice for somebody to take on some of the stress in my life? Of course. But you know what? They can add a lot of stress onto my life too, and I really don't want that. So I don't need a man in my life. I don't want a man in my life. I don't need a man in my life to make me happy. There. Done. Nobody say it to me again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I totally agree with
piece.
you. And one thing that I have truly learned, like being married, is I always thought that it was so crazy. Like if you hit a certain point, you would stay married forever. You hit 25 years. Why in the world would anybody want to get divorced after 25 years? Well, I have found out that it is very, very, very important that you continue to work on it. That you never forget. Mm-hmm. You always, it is a constant every day. You have to keep working on it. It's not something you just say, okay, we're at the good point and now we're not going to work on it anymore. Yes, you definitely have to work on it. But I love being
Yeah,
married,
for
and I'm
sure.
glad you love being single, and hopefully if you ever do date, you find the right one to date. But these stories are hysterical, and I love to hear them.
Yeah. Well, unless his name is Donnie Wahlberg, you don't really have much of a
Oh,
chance. So, or Shamar Moore, he would do too, and he is single, so
there
he
is.
could come knocking on my door, and I wouldn't slam the
Hey,
door in his face. So.
we're doing a podcast. It could go, global, and he may hear about this. So say his name again.
Maybe Shamar Moore,
Right.
if you're listening from CBS's SWAT, I am single, and I'd love to be your, married baby girl. He'll know what that means if he hears
Don't know
it.
what that means.
Okay, so we're gonna try something a little new at the end of the podcast. We're gonna see what people think of it. But I was watching videos of Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake because they're hilarious
They are
together,
hilarious.
and I like to watch them. And they did this thing on his show where it was called the Best Friend Box, and they picked questions out of that Best Friend Box and asked each other those questions, and they had to write down the answer and see if they got it right. And I thought that would be a lot of fun. We could do that on the podcast. So we're going to do that now. And I'm going to ask you a question about me, something about me, and see if you get the answer right. And then you're going to do that for me. So I'll go ahead and ask you my question, and we'll see what your answer is. See if you know. It's kind of how much do we really know each other.
Okay.
And I was looking at the list of questions, and there's some that I don't think I could answer. So
Okay.
we'll see.
Okay.
All right. So my question to you, Kris, is what is my most embarrassing childhood memory?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny because I was going to put that. I was going to ask you that, but I already know what you'd say, and you'd definitely get it right. So I'm not ever asking you that question. Your most...
I do know what the answer
Yes,
to that
I know
question
you
would
do.
be.
Okay, so your most embarrassing childhood memory. Okay, so
Yeah.
the one that you are thinking of, did it happen at school? Is
Oh, I didn't know we were turning this into 20 questions, but yes, it did happen at school.
okay. I'm going to say it was the time, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna say it was the time that we were doing a play, and you went and did a front handspring, and your shirt came up, and you flashed the entire front row, the entire school, whoever was watching. Is that it?
Ding, ding, ding.
Really?
You would be correct. Although it was not a front handspring because I've never been able to do one of those in my entire life. It was actually a cartwheel.
A cartwheel. Okay.
But yes, we were doing a play that we wrote and directed and all that stuff. And I was playing a girl who got broken up by her boyfriend, and you guys were singing the song Girlfriend by Pebbles to me. And I was to do a cartwheel and then go down into the splits for whatever reason, because we thought that would be great on stage. I don't know what we were thinking.
That's what every girl does when her boyfriend breaks up with her. She does a cartwheel into the splits while her girlfriend sings, Pebbles to her.
Of course. Of course. Why would nobody ever do that? So I neglected to tuck my shirt into my pants, and we were doing this performance in front of the entire 8th grade class. And I did my little cartwheel, and I flashed the entire 8th grade class.
Yes, I do remember that.
I don't get embarrassed very easily. Like, it's very hard to embarrass me because I like to embarrass other people.
Mm-hmm.
But that was very, very, anytime anybody asks me what my most embarrassing moment is, it is that story, because nobody in the 8th grade wants to flash the entire 8th grade. And even some kid in the audience yelled out, like, nice boobies or nice set of boobie.
Nice
he yelled out something. I was like,
right?
Yeah, something like that.
That's
fantastic. Yeah. So you were correct.
Okay. All right. So here's my question. What's the craziest thing I've ever done?
Oh, Lord.
See, and there's a wide spectrum. This could be...
Yeah, This is a long list, to be honest.
Well, I'm not that crazy. Just pick one that you think of then.
Well, okay, but what are we considering crazy here? Like, is it? I don't know.
Okay, so I'll give you a hint. Okay.
Okay.
I had already met and started dating Mark, and it was a public display. That's my hint. I would say that's the thing that sticks out as like the craziest thing I've ever done.
The craziest thing, and you were already dating Mark.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard because when you were dating Mark, we weren't really talking all that much.
No. Maybe I didn't tell you this.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so do you want me...
Something you did...
Want me to tell you now?
I honestly, I can't think of anything, so I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if you ever told me, so go ahead. Tell me. I don't know the answer.
Okay, so when Mark and I first started dating, or not first started, we've been dating about 5 months or so. And he used to work for the pet door company, so he used to travel a lot to California. Well, one time in particular, he took me along with him, and we went to Magic Mountain. Did I tell you about this?
Oh God, I don't know if you did or not. I don't know. Keep going.
Okay, so
I'm kind of guessing. I know where this is going, but I don't want to say anything.
Okay, so in Magic Mountain, they have this place called the Secret Garden, and
did you do it in the Secret Garden?
Maybe. Okay, so the funny part of this
I don't think you ever told me this.
Yeah, well, so like we snuck off into the Secret Garden and got all hot and heavy and it was a lot of fun and it was crazy because I would never do something like that. But then after it was all said and done, and it was dark, so I had that in my favor. It was dark, but after all was said and done, I turned around after getting dressed. I turned around and looked across the way, and there was a tram system going up and down, and without thinking, I don't know how many people were on it, but those trams were lit up. So I don't know who saw us, but if they ever did, they got a nice show that night.
Oh my God, free porn at Six Flags.
Right? There you go. There's an advertisement for you.
I don't think you ever told me that story. I did not know that.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. That's funny.
You know what?
Oh,
and
man.
to make it even better, we were driving because when we went there, we took I-10. So we stopped on the side of I-10. Yeah, and did it there too.
And did it again? Oh my God, what a bunch of little rabbits you guys were.
But that's the thing. That's
Louise.
the thing. When you first start, when you're first starting to date, that was in the first 6 months. That was like, you did that all the time. And now we're married and it's special occasions and it might be a little too late tonight.
Yeah, I'm tired. Man, how about Wednesday? Oh my gosh, I don't think you ever really told me that story.
Good fun.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, that was a great way to end this episode. Let me tell you, because those were funny stories.
Yes, that made my night.
Hopefully, we'll have to do that again at the end of the next episode because I that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So I think next episode we're gonna talk about cooking and shopping, and both you and I do not like to grocery shop. It's a pain. I only have a family of 3. You have a family of 5 now. It used to be 6. And it's hard.
It is hard.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some kind of, I don't know, administration things. I don't know what to call it, but I want to give some credit to the person who has done our artwork that
Absolutely.
You see when you go to iTunes and Podbean and everywhere else that we are. We are on. I just kind of want to. You can find us on Twitter. Or I mean, not Twitter. Excuse me.
Yes, on
you
Twitter.
can find us on iTunes. Well, you can find us on Twitter too. We are on Podbean, iTunes. We're on Podcast Land. We're on Podcast Addict. We're on Castbox. And we're on Podcast Republic. So if you want to find us and listen to us, you can find us anywhere. Mm-hmm. We would really like for you to go to iTunes and subscribe to us and tell your friends and tell everybody so we can get some subscribers so our podcast will be out there and people will listen.
You can find us.
You can find us on.
You can also find us. The website itself is www.spikedcoffeeandsarcasm.com, and it's just like it sounds. Uh-huh. You should check it out. Have a drink while you're doing it because it is fun. It's a little blog and got a lot of information, and eventually we will have more information, updates, and lots of fun stuff there too.
Yeah, and you can find us on Twitter at Spike Coffee and Sarcasm. My friend Connor Thurman that I work with, she's the one that has done our artwork, and she will probably be doing some more stuff with us. She's been on us since this journey, or on us, that sounded a little dirty. She's been with us through this whole journey since it started. She's probably our biggest supporter at this point. Yeah. She's very excited for us, and she's been doing a lot with us and for us, and I've bounced ideas off of her, and she's been really great. So just kind of want to give a shout out to her. She did a fantastic job with our artwork, and I can't wait to see what she'll do for us next.
Yep.
So, keep listening, guys. We appreciate any support. Like I said, go to iTunes, subscribe to us, give us some love so other people can hear us. If you have any ideas or suggestions on something you want to hear us talk about, just, tweet something out to us. We'll see it. Leave a comment on iTunes. We'll see it. And we'll have an email soon to give out to you guys to send us some ideas and stuff. We're still working on that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and hearing my horror stories from dating and marriage stuff and our embarrassing moments and crazy things that we did. So stay tuned for episode 6, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.